Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, it is day 10 of RPG A Day 2018, and our question or prompt for today is rather personal. So, our question is, how has gaming changed you? And it's funny, I was looking at the questions for this weekend, and after looking at this one, I'm kind of glad that those are really kind of light and airy questions, after this kind of heavy one. But RPG A Day definitely encourages us to share with each other, kind of open up a little bit and expose ourselves to each other, which is cool. It's kind of a getting to know you sort of thing. But just kind of one warning or caveat or a synonym of that is that, there's going to be parts of this video which are going to seem kind of cryptic because there's parts of my life that I'm going to touch on that I don't really share in public on principle. And yeah, there's going to be some of you that are probably astute enough or observant enough, or perhaps among the initiated, who will guess correctly and kind of fill in those blanks. There's probably other people among you that will guess completely wrong and fill in those blanks anyway. And there's probably others among you that simply just won't care. But that really doesn't make any sense to me because I'm the most fascinating and intriguing person on the planet. So why wouldn't you spend all your waking moments thinking about me? Which is insane. But anyhow, I digress. I actually have 3 different periods of time in the hobby, so I'm going to talk about those briefly, and I don't worry, it's not going to be a really long video, I promise, really, even though it's me. I was first introduced to the hobby in 1981. I was 13 years old, and I played during my teenage years, up until about 1990, when I kind of put the games on the shelf and got married and had kids, and entered that phase of my life, and didn't bring gaming along with me. And I can't say that gaming fundamentally changed me in any manner during that time period. Yes, I was kind of a shy, geeky kid, but it was just another outlet for me, and I'm not minimizing it. But it just fit with everything else I did. I was listening to music and the usual heavy metal and odd bands, and was learning to play music and that sort of things, and was into science and other kind of geek type pursuits, and various types of fiction, fantasy and science fiction and all that sort of stuff. So it just fit. It really didn't change me. The gaming experience itself didn't change me. Even the contact with the friends that I had during that time. I can't say that it really changed me, as far as I can tell. Anyhow, we'll fast forward a little bit to my second entry into the hobby, and that was in about 2010. And so I was involved in the hobby from 2010 until about mid-2012. And that period of my life was the tail end of a very dark period in my life. And in fact, that was probably, those 2 years were probably among the darkest. And, at that point, gaming and getting involved in online forums like dragonsfoot.org, and Big Purple is at like RPG.net, but mostly Dragonsfoot. Getting involved in play-by-post games, starting to make YouTube videos. Getting involved in that sort of community. Gaming both online, and in person. That was kind of like another outlet, and there was definitely, gaming was sort of an anchor at that period, or a stable point. Once again, I don't think it fundamentally changed me at that time, but it gave me something to hold on to. I didn't have a heck of a lot of relationships that were still intact at that point, and the connections that I had, the people that I had connections with at that point, they were kind of fleeing in self-defense, and the people in the online world really didn't have the same exposure to what contact with me could produce at that particular point in time. But that's all I'm going to say about that. And in mid-July, I kind of vanished from the gaming world. I pulled back from all the games I was involved in, and completely just kind of vanished off the internet entirely. And I'm sure some people kind of wondered, where I went. But what happened was, July 11th, 2012 was this very pivotal moment in my life where I made this decision to make a fundamental change in how I navigated life, and it was the best thing I ever did. And no, quitting gaming had nothing to do with it. I simply had much more urgent priorities at that time, and I eliminated some very self-destructive behaviors and started to learn how to replace them with more adaptive behaviors, finding a new way to live, so to speak. Couldn't really afford the internet, so maybe that's one of the reasons I kind of vanished off the internet, which is kind of a detail. But I actually had other priorities at that point in time. Although, actually, now that I think of it, not participating in sessions with the local people that I game with, it had a little bit to do with the changes, I made, but it didn't have, it wasn't about gaming. It was more that I was hanging out with people that it was a good idea for me not to hang out with them. It had nothing to do with the fact that we were playing games together. They weren't bad people. It was just I needed to develop different relationships with different people. Fortunately, I was exposed to a group of people that became my new social network, for lack of a better word, and which was uncomfortable and difficult because I had become quite antisocial at that particular point in time. But these relationships I've developed with some of these people have been very meaningful and very profound, very deep. We share some pretty deep bonds, and I count them among my closest friends. And they are my closest friends today, some of them. But this video isn't about that. So what's it about? So for a while, during that period of time, I relearned to make connections with other people in kind of a safe community, for lack of a better word. And eventually, some of the people that I became friends with that had a lot more experience, suggested or encouraged me, well, it's time to go make some friends, out in the real world, and go pursue, the things you're interested in again. Go ahead, get on with life. Now that my thinking and behavior had kind of been restored to sanity somewhat, for lack of a better word. So in late 2015, it was not like I went and said, well, I should go do something now and go pursue other relationships. I just started looking into RPGs again. And it wasn't long before I made a video and made another video. And I started to meet gamers online. I found out that I missed things like the RPG Brigade. Just right around the time I was leaving is when the the RPG Brigade was really taking off. It's really kind of interesting. I met some people that became members of that were influenced, believe it or not, by my channel way back in the day, which I find kind of entertaining. But I missed all that. But they weren't quite in their heyday. But there's still plenty of opportunities to make connections. So slowly by little, I started to develop relationships with other people online. I started to play games with people online, with people pretty much around the world. I started to get involved in discussions. I became a member of the RPG community once again. And connections with people, other people haven't ever really been easy for me to make or to maintain. But I was able to take what I learned elsewhere and apply it here in the world of gaming. And so, in a very real way, this round of gaming has changed me, as it's afforded me the opportunity to build real connections with people in a community that's not based entirely upon support. If that makes any sense. Probably more important, or just as important, I suppose, is the diverse nature of the hobby, that I alluded to yesterday when I was talking about things that have surprised me about gaming. This diverse nature has kind of allowed me to practice, I guess for lack of a better word, spiritual principles, which is fancy talk for the idea that I've been challenged to seek to understand other people rather than just be understood all the time, because we have differences of opinion, we have different perspectives. I've slowly learned to recognize and accept the differences that we have, and I've learned to actively seek common ground with these other people, and because we do have common ground, and I've through our interactions in this gaming community, I've learned that the bonds and the friendships that we have are worth a lot more than disagreements and a lot more than being right. So it's interesting because gaming has allowed me, as I play games, it allows me to see the world through the eyes and the perspectives of another person, a fictional person, a character. But this community and being involved in it has challenged me to try to understand and accept the positions and perspectives of the other members. So I've learned slowly to see the world through a real person's eyes and to try to see the world through their eyes. So at the end of the day, how has gaming changed me? It's helped me to become a better person. So, I guess that's as deep as I'm going to get. But I believe, that's after giving this quite a bit of thought. That's how gaming has changed me. It's been adjunctive to other things I've done in my life, but it's been very important. The end. See you tomorrow, kids, for our light and fluffy questions.